and we're not doing that tonight. The lists are very, very long now. And the reason I've had you all writing instead of giving you the handouts is because you remember better. Because the lists are so long, the remaining categories that I need to give you, I have handouts, and we will go over those tonight, make sure you don't have any questions, that you understand. But the whole point of having you write out the things that we've been writing the last few weeks is because if you write it, it's going to stick better. If you hear it, your brain processes it, and then you have to get it back out of your brain through your hand. It's going to stick with you better. And it's also got a second purpose, which is that once you start writing these things down, you start seeing the pattern. And you begin to understand how God uses things that sound similar or that use a certain characteristic to express what he means. All right. We're going to start with animals. And the main thing about animals, a lot of them are very negative, but some of them are definitely representing good things and positive things and the things of God. The thing to remember about any animal in any dream or vision is that if it talks to you, that's witchcraft. Any animal that talks to you is witchcraft. Be very, very cautious if animals start talking to you. Now, you can see, if you just run down this list, you can see how the characteristics of many animals are what God uses to communicate to us. Run down the list, and if there's anything that you have a question over, we'll discuss it. George is asking about the face, light or dark. That does not refer to complexion or race. That refers to the general appearance of the face. You know, when someone has been with God, you can see that there's almost a light that radiates from their face. Similarly, if someone has a very dark countenance, I'm not talking dark in color, it just seems like there's a shadow or a darkness over the face, you know that they are really struggling. And so in the dream or the vision, if you see that, a certain lightness or a darkness over the face, then that is God trying to communicate to you something about that person's spiritual condition. Similarly, if you see a being in your dream and the face is light or dark, that can be an indication of whether it's angelic or demonic. Got a little bit of a funny story to tell you. A church that I went to for a very, very short while, because it had a strong religious spirit to it, and by the grace of God, he revealed that to me and I was able to get away. But they saw demons behind every rock, bush, and blade of grass. And we were at our home group one night, and this lady began sharing how she had been attacked that afternoon by demons because she opened her cupboard. It was an overhead cupboard, and several Tupperware dishes fell out and hit her on the head and shoulders. And a couple of friends and I were kind of at the place where we were starting to question all of the demons that were constantly being discerned every time this church had an assembly. And we laughed about this for months and months and months. The woman's husband, who was not very popular in that church because he didn't buy into the whole there's demons everywhere always trying to attack you, God can't protect you from those. He was very practical minded. He said, no, that wasn't a demonic attack. You fill your cupboards too full. So Brenda and I had this running joke for months about a spirit of Tupperware. So it is possible to carry that too far. It's very easy to fall into that trap. Just remember that most of what you see can be a clear communication from God. Don't look for deep hidden symbolism and mysteries in everything. When God shows you a picture, when He speaks a word in your mind's ear, when He shows you a color, when He allows you to smell something or to feel a sensation or any of the other ways that He chooses to communicate with us, there may not be any deep mystical symbolism to it. It might be God just saying, hey, I love you. So it could be that owls have symbolism for you, Sam, or it could be that there's a lot of owls that live in your neighborhood. Okay. Maybe there's lots of food around there, and that would be something about which to seek God. Generally, in the positive sense, owls represent wisdom. You remember the saying, the wise owl? Yes, ma'am. All right. So it could be that there is some wisdom coming in a certain area of your life, or it could be that there's just lots of little critters, and so the owls like it by your house. You know? Although Sam does have a point. Sometimes God lets us see things out in nature in great quantities or with great frequency, because that will get our attention, and then we have to seek Him and find out what He's saying. I had a thing with Canadian geese several years ago, and the message was one of unity, of a new season coming, of encouragement. But I mean, I was seeing flocks of geese everywhere and hearing them flying over the house. And there was a pair that was nesting in a pond near my neighborhood, and I came home one day, pulled my car into the alley, and there was a pair of Canadian geese walking down the alley with a dozen little goslings behind them. And they were apparently looking for a new place to go, and the goslings couldn't fly yet, so they was marching along. And because God had been speaking to me for several months about geese, and because there were 12 of the little goslings, that had great symbolism and significance for me. I mean, I pulled my car into the driveway, and they were right there, and I stopped so I wouldn't run over anything, and they walked 2 feet from my car. If I had rolled down my window, I could have reached out and scratched their heads, except they would have bit me, but yeah. All right, any questions on the body parts list? Remember that God created us, and He knows how we are. He knows that We are weak and frail. And he's not embarrassed by body parts. He knows how we are. So it is perfectly fine if he is talking to you about something that is usually hidden. People get freaked out when they have dreams in which they are partially or completely naked, and they think they're evil and rotten. And no, God knows how you are. It usually indicates being vulnerable or being transparent to God or to his people. Okay, if there's no questions about body parts, let's look at the buildings list. And if you look through these, again, you'll see that God uses things that are very normal to us and have a certain property or a certain point or a certain purpose, and the definitions are pretty clear. The balcony, for instance, would mean getting perspective or being able to look over something or observe something. And that's exactly what you do when you're on a balcony. What was the feel? Did it feel positive or negative? Did you feel like you needed to get out? Yeah. You needed to get out. There was an urgency to get out. It depends a lot on the season of your life. It could have been that God was preparing you to move into a new ministry, because a lot of times a house represents you or your ministry. So he could have been preparing you, saying, yeah, this isn't the right thing. This is more getting more and more restrictive for you because it isn't what I have for you anymore. All right, while you're finishing that up, let me explain what the graph paper is for. This is a cool exercise. What I want you to do is write your name very, very small at the top of the paper. You just like on the second row down. It doesn't have to be a certain distance. It can be in the center. And then fold it over twice. So you have this small little fold here, so nobody can see the name. And then I'm going to collect these, and we're going to pass them all around. And you're going, without looking at the name, ask God to give you something encouraging for the person whose name is written on the paper. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Okay, you start with this one, and then as soon as you finish, pass it to Gary. Ask God to give you something for that person, an encouragement, without looking at the name. All right, let me give you a different one. Do not unfold the paper and look at the name. Don't unfold the paper and look at the name. Ask God for a word of knowledge or a word of encouragement or something. I should have one more coming to me. So I should have one more, which means you at some point are asking God for words for yourself. I didn't tell you that, did I?
What happens when it's all folded up?
Right on the flat surface don't unfold it, right on the flat surface that you can, like on the back or the bottom or something. Gary, your plaids don't match.
Yeah, I know.
Did you dress yourself today?
Yes.
Okay. And that's okay. Some people were taking a little bit longer to hear from God, and one of those is a little tough. Sam had to take a few extra minutes with one, and so did I. Doesn't mean that person is bad, just means that there was more and deeper stuff that God wanted to say to that person. Okay, read through these. Who wants to share? George will.
Must have been a good one.
Okay, this is George's list.
Salt water,
Salt water,
love, the greatest gift is strong in your life.
love, the greatest gift, is strong in your life.
Gifted beyond measure,
Gifted beyond measure,
playful and happy,
playful and happy,
light, peace, wisdom,
light, peace, wisdom,
wisdom,
wisdom, more wisdom,
eternal openness,
eternal openness,
stand and see the salvation of God.
stand and see the salvation of God,
Oh, I've got one extra. Great bounty.
great bounty. How did those make you feel?
I laughed at the one I put myself on, but that's okay.
What did you write for yourself? Not
Playful
knowing.
and happy.
Playful and happy. But that's who God created you to be.
Yeah,
That's who God created you to be.
the salt water. I don't quite get that one yet.
Well, the salt
Everything
water,
else.
what that would speak to me is salt water is found in large bodies of water. And remember from some of the lists that we had that oceans are vast quantities of Holy Spirit.
Awesome.
So salt water, or that could also be, God sees you as salt and light in the Holy Spirit, because water generally represents the Holy Spirit. I think those are great.
They are.
So you're feeling pretty positive about those now?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Because God loves George very, very much, and so he said those things. He told everybody in the room something about you. That's pretty cool. Blessings. I'm a little surprised at what I wrote myself, not knowing that this was mine. Because when I got this, I immediately, those were just very, very strong. That was power, strength, and rejoicing. That's not been this week. I'll be honest with you. That's not been this week. But that's how God sees me. And that's an encouragement. Okay, anybody else? All right, I'm going to have Lorraine come up and share something with you. You remember last week that one of the last things we discussed was the meaning of the name Caleb. And she came up and told me a very cool story this morning that I asked her to share because it definitely ministered to me. I had a rough week and a pretty bad day yesterday and was feeling the usual stuff that you feel when you put yourself out on a limb like this, which is these people aren't learning anything from you. You're not giving them anything worthwhile. They are wasting their time. They're just sitting there listening to you to be nice because they're not getting anything out of this. Now, we know where that kind of stuff comes from, but I want you to hear what Lorraine got out of that name, Caleb, last week. Just kind of hold that in front of your mouth.
Okay. Last weekend was really bad on a personal level. My daughter and the father of her child were fighting all weekend, so her and baby Jay were at my house. And it was just very stressful all the way around. And so when I came here to class, I was pretty much tired, whipped out. And then somebody gave me the word Caleb, and I had no idea what it meant, so I, of course, asked you guys. And the first thing that came up was dog. Well, that in and of itself isn't really too encouraging. But then Gary reminded me of the story that Caleb's in the Bible. He was a spy for Moses, and he went out, and several spies went out, and some came back and said, there's giants in the land, we can't possibly overtake them. And Caleb came back and basically said, there's giants in the land, let's go kick butt. And then I was doing some studying on my own this weekend, and the dog wasn't just dog. It was raging with canine madness, which may not sound real good either, but I applied that anyway to the kids that I've worked with. Sometimes I'm not a person who likes confrontation. In fact, I'll go to great lengths to avoid it if I have to or can. But God seemed to put things in my way all the time with the kids that I had to speak up or stand up for. So I think that applies to me. And then I found out he was from the tribe of Judah, JC's lineage, so that's okay. He survived 40 years wandering in the desert. He was known to speak up for the truth. And he was ingenious in dealing with trouble. Knew when God gave him a task to do, God would supply him with all he needed to complete the mission. So I figure, if I take up a little bit after Caleb, I'm doing pretty good. And it ended up every other word that people said to God spoke to me. So it was just great.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing that with us. It's an encouragement to me personally, but it's an encouragement, I think, to everyone here in the class that you were hearing from God last week. And the words that you shared with Lorraine when we did our exercise ministered greatly to her and all tied together. Thinking about the primary definition of Caleb being the dog usually is a symbol for friendly or protector, man's best friend. And what have you been to all those kids that you've worked with? Oh,
Encouragement. I just want people to know that every one of these hit.
good. Good.
They hit right on.
Okay. So Gary's list, all of those hit right on. And Karen's list, all of those hit right on. Yeah, these are an encouragement to me. Okay. Next thing we are going to do is work on a couple of dreams. So, who has had a dream in the last 4 weeks with the assignments to write down dreams that you want us to, you are willing to share with us so that we can help work out what God is saying?
Well, I told you last week, I know I've been dreaming,
Uh-huh.
but when I wake up, I cannot, for the life of me, remember them to write anything down. This week, I had one dream that I could remember anything from.
Okay.
So I'll go for it.
All right.
I was in a store,
Okay.
and I was buying some green plastic lawn chairs. And as I was kind of walking around the store with them, some guy, which reminded me of Tony, said, "It's a shame they're not making those as well as they used to." And then also in the store, I tried on this gorgeous bright yellow scarf, but I couldn't get it to lay right on me the way I don't know, some people just have a knack with scarves, I guess I don't. But, and that ended, that was it. It was a short procedure.
Okay. I am writing this down. All right. So you were in a store. You were buying green plastic lawn chairs. You were walking around the store with them.
They were very light and flimsy. I could carry them easily.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Light and flimsy. You know, walking around the store with them. A guy who reminded you of Tony said it's a shame they don't make them as well as they used to. And then you tried on a bright yellow scarf, but you didn't buy it because you couldn't get it to lay right like it should. Okay? And that was it. All right, when you're interpreting dreams, the first thing to determine is who is the dream about. If you are in the dream, it's about you. If you are experiencing the dream, it's about you. 95% of your dreams are going to be about you. So the way I do this when I work out a dream is I make kind of a flow chart. And I know you can't see this real well, but I have Lorraine up here. She's the focal point of the dream. It's about her. Then I have an arrow going to the next thing. She's in a store. She's buying green plastic lawn chairs. And then I have two different directions that this goes. First, she encounters the guy like Tony. And then she gave us another detail. She was walking around the store with them, and they were light and flimsy. And then finally, I've got this big arrow going down to the bottom because that was another thing that she did. Went and tried on it was bright yellow? Okay. Was it like patterned, solid color? You just remember it being gorgeous? But it was beautiful and gorgeous. Okay, so in a store, what would that signify? Right. A store is a place of provision, or God's storehouse. So she's walking around in a store buying green plastic lawn chairs. What are those? Any ideas? I know I have not given you the furniture list yet. Green could be growth or prosperity. Chairs would be support, something to sit in, something to rest on. Lawn chairs would signify recreation. What do you all think? Lord, give us some wisdom here. Okay, the furniture list says that a chair is a seat of authority. Could be But then someone who looked like Tony came and said, it's a shame they don't make those as well as they used to. What do you all think? What is God speaking to you about that?
Well, basic authority in our society has been downgraded quite a bit.
Yes.
Family authority, school authority, it's all been kind of compromised in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. What? Okay. What Karen was saying was that chairs being representative of a seat of authority, and Tony, or the guy who looked like Tony, saying it's a shame they don't make those as well as they used to, that would, what Karen was just telling us was that family authority is not what it used to be, especially working with children. Did I understand? Yeah. Okay. All right. And then Sam suggested just now that it could signify vacation. Green is significant. When you see colors in dreams, that's almost always significant, and that would indicate, in a positive sense, that would indicate growth or prosperity. So it could be that you would be growing in authority, even though authority isn't what it used to be. Okay, so we've got that much. And then she tried on a gorgeous bright yellow scarf. Yellow signifies faith, hope. The fact that it was bright yellow, a fairly intense form of the color, would indicate strength of that. Most dreams, there can be a ton of detail because God is creative and he can use detail to help us remember, but not every detail is going to have strong significance in the dream. I can remember having a couple of dreams that took me over an hour to type out the next morning because there was so much detail. And when I got the interpretation of them from the person who was leading the class, it was 2 brief little sentences, and I can remember, that's all, I spent all this time typing out all those details, and that's all. But when I prayed about it, that was what was significant. The detail served to help me remember the most significant details, and it also served to paint a very, very rich and vivid picture for me. All right, so you were in a place of provision. You are buying green plastic lawn chairs that seem light and flimsy. Someone commented that it's too bad they're not made like they used to be. But because they're green, they are probably going to be getting stronger. So I would say maybe a strengthening of authority. And the scarf that is bright yellow didn't lay right, but it was beautiful. Was it a specific type or shape of scarf? You don't, okay. And if you don't remember, then it's not usually that significant. Okay. Okay, 2 very short lists. Directions. Left indicates gifts that you were born with or natural ability. Maps are to give direction, or they may show where something will happen. Middle. What it says here is the middle of the garden was where the tree of life was, in the Garden of Eden. And right is what you have faith to do, or do what is right, or go the right way. Okay, the next list is furniture. If you see antiques, those are valuable historic things that have not been used or consumed. If you see a bed, it's a place of intimacy or sleep. Indicates rest or communion with God. The chair, as we said for Laureen's dream, is a seat of authority. A couch is fellowship time, either with the Lord or others. Can also indicate rest, relaxing, and comfort. Decor. If it's trendy, it may indicate something that is or is not currently relevant. When there's more than one meaning, look at the context. Anybody need that again? A desk is a place of learning or preparation. Torn furniture. Things that have been around a long time and need to be recovered or replaced. Recovered meaning reupholstered. A table indicates koinonia or community. Koinonia is a Greek word meaning community of believers or fellowship in the Holy Spirit. Now, this last one is very intriguing. If you see many wooden, beautiful tables with nothing on them, it is compassion setting the way for many platforms for ministry. Not sure what it will be yet since nothing is on them. Does anyone need any of those again? Okay, that is it for this evening. Good job, everybody.